I said, why do you believe that we stole your website? And he said, well, it was my website and now it's gone and it's got your website on it. And I said, oh yeah, that's because you didn't renew your domain name and, we bought it and now we're using it. And he didn't like that at all. He was not happy. He's like, I'm going to find you. I'm going to find where you live. I'm going to send my people to see you. I'm going to send my people out there.
I have a very special guest and a good friend, my buddy Adam Colbert. Adam is the founder and president of Rocket 31 Digital Marketing. He's based out of Denver, Colorado. He's from Jacksonville, Florida. Adam, my brother, thank you for coming on. I'm happy to have you here, dude.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Hell yeah, man. So how's the day treating you?
It's good so far, just grinding away, just working and talking to you, so good.
Hell yeah. Well, I've known Adam for a while, and we've done quite a bit together. We've done some JVs on some projects, and I've really been able to see what Adam could do in not only the SEO space, but in the performance space. And I thought, why not get this gentleman on the Caller Meetup to talk about how he's really seen success in pay-per-call and how we can lend some insight and some value to our viewers or our listeners like you, and also just ready to talk some shit with him, because it's always fun to talk to other players in the space about how they're working in pay-per-call. So Adam, I know all about you, man. Our guests, viewers, or attendees, whatever we want to call them, they don't know shit about you. So I want to learn a little bit about your hero's journey and how you got started, what year you got started, how you came up into this space.
Yeah, man. So I would say I got started. I found out about, affiliate and internet marketing around 2014. And I was working for a company, a large company, and I had to travel a lot. I was basically kind of in a sales role where I covered 2 states. I travel around a lot. But I just it was interesting to me. I'm like, man, people are making money online. And at the time, all I was seeing was like these JVZoo pages. It's like, buy this course for $10, make money online. And it was really kind of stupid. So I thought, what if I started a business selling marketing services to other businesses, like small businesses. So that's kind of how I got started, was in the agency space. And the product was SEO. I said, well, I could just, learn how to do SEO. So I started practicing on some sites that I owned, learned how to build a website, learned how to get the websites ranked, how to rank Google business listings. And that's kind of how I got started. And just kind of, I guess, over time, just working online, you just learn stuff.
Totally.
You just experiment and find little things. If something works, then you just exploit that until it goes away. And that's kind of how I got started.
Awesome. JVZoo. That's way back when, in the early days. When was that? I think I missed the year. What was the year?
2014 was when I first found out about working online, like internet marketing.
Okay. All right. Nice.
But yeah.
So in 2014, I believe everything was pretty much shifting to mobile then, because I remember when I started in 2010, and mobile wasn't really a focus at all then. And being in the pay-per-call space, it was weird trying to generate a phone call, now that I think about it, because nowadays you can't generate a phone call really unless they're on a mobile device. So right as I guess you were starting, I guess you beautifully, you saw how beautiful it was that everything moved to mobile, and you were able to start from there. That's cool. All right, awesome. So one thing that I've noticed is that all of the individuals I've spoken to on the show is they all have a story from what happened to them back in the day that's kind of funny, and whether it was a big fuck up or was a huge win, it's always cool to hear about stuff you've kind of learned along the way and taken with you to build these campfire stories. Do you have any cool stories that's kind of happened to you throughout your career?
Yeah, I got a pretty decent one. So for a while I was in the bail bond space, I have a buddy that was a bail bondsman. He built a pretty big bail bond company out in California. They were in all the different cities and pretty big show. But anyway, so if you're not a bail bondsman, you can't take a percentage of a bail bond.
Right.
You have to be licensed. Well, I'm not licensed, but my buddy is. So we said, hey, we'll team up. You know, I'll do the marketing, get the calls. He'll negotiate the splits and get get us paid. So I went and I picked up an expired domain. It was nice and juicy, had a lot of links. It was really old. It was a great auction domain. And I got it, and I built a site up, built out a bunch of pages, started, and immediately the phone started ringing. I mean, it was like a day after I built the site. It's crazy. The phone just started blowing up with people calling wanting bail bonds. And we were just like, oh, man, this is great. So somehow, I don't remember exactly how it happened, but I got word that somebody was calling on the phone line saying, accusing us of stealing their website. So I forwarded the phones over to myself, and I took the call. And the guy answers, I answer the phone. It's this guy. He's like, sounds like a mafioso. He's like he's like from The Sopranos.
Okay.
And he's
nice.
like, hey, you took the, hey, you scammed me. You took my website. I'm going to find you. Who are you?
Right.
I said, hey, I'm not telling you who I am. I said, why do you believe that we stole your website? And he said, well, it was my website, and now it's gone, and it's got your website on it. And I said, oh yeah, that's because you didn't renew your domain name, and we bought it, and now we're using it. And he didn't like that at all. He was not happy. He's like, I'm going to find you. I'm going to find where you live. I'm going to send my people to see you. I'm going to send my people out there. So I was like, all right, whatever, dude. Well, what do you want? What do you want to do? And he's like, well, it ended up selling him his website or his domain back to him for a profit, of course. But
okay.
So I ended up selling it back to the guy. But come to find out, I'm watching the Conor McGregor incident on the news or something, and this bail bond guy walks into the courtroom, and it turns out he was like a world famous bail bondsman, like really kind of a famous big shot guy.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's something crazy that happened. That's probably one of the craziest things that's ever happened. I haven't really had anything too terrible happen.
Okay. That's pretty cool though. That's pretty cool that he came back into your life just indirectly.
Yeah.
So by the way, great impression. Spot on.
Thank you.
I hope no New Jersey listeners get offended by that, but you know what? Who cares? You're from New Jersey. I'm just playing. I'm from Massachusetts. It's not like we're any better. So that's that's one thing that we can get into later in terms of like what you did there and how you used it to even acquire the site. But before we dive into some of those actionable items, I would love to learn about where you see SEO shifting, because one thing that I often do is I hear information, whether it be from a blog or a podcast or just some type of resource, and I digest it, but I don't take it as gospel. And I love to chat with partners like yourselves who are skilled and knowledgeable in the SEO space. So we have these conversations quite a bit, but one thing that I think our viewers want to know is, if I'm going to really look at SEO, where do I see it evolving coming into the new year and just overall? And how is Google positioning their updates so players that are either new or in SEO can position themselves for success? Because there's been a lot of changes this year, not with just Google Ads, but with Google SEO and just a whole bunch of changes that are affecting people's businesses. I think I just saw one roll out yesterday called Colbert or something. So there's a lot of changes. There's a lot of new tricks and hacks that people can use. Hopefully they're white hat. But I'd love to hear just from your mouth, where do you see SEO evolving? And if you're in the pay-per-call space, how would you position yourself for success?
Yeah, so from a pay-per-call standpoint, I would say it's best, in my opinion, people might disagree with this, but I would say that it's best to position, if you're going to launch a site, position it as a brand and not just as, garbage. Position it as a real brand. Take the time to make it nice, make it look good. create the social profiles for it, set it up as if it's a company, whether that, in this case, the company's product is information, because that's how you're going to get the traffic to the site to get the calls by publishing information. But yeah, I'd say make it more real, because before you could go out and just throw up an old garbage website, get some calls, and just rinse and repeat.
Yep.
And there's still some validity to that, but I think for longevity, just to keep things going longer, you just want to have a real brand that looks nice, that's trustworthy, that Google can trust. And when you start setting up social profiles, you start treating it as if it's a real business, you end up inadvertently sending the right signals to Google.
Right.
So that would be my advice.
Okay.
Be a brand and not just a flop house or whatever,
Totally. Yeah. I think even if with that, I wouldn't even just say do that for SEO, do it for everything, because by the way, I think you're spot on. Absolutely. If you're not showing value to users on Google is not going to reward you, because user experience is their number one goal. And what they see as valuable now is a brand. And it doesn't have to be a brand as if it's like Pepsi or Amazon or Chick-fil-A. I guess I'm hungry and I want to shop right now, but it's build a brand so people have that trust factor, and deliver them that information that gives them value. And then eventually you're going to be able to turn that visitor into a lead or into a customer, because brands online, they can be digital. They don't have to really exist in the world. But if you make it look as if they do exist physically out there, you're just going to create a huge trust factor. And one thing that I tell some of the affiliates we work with who do, let's say, paid search is you need to begin to build a brand, even if you're doing paid search, regardless of what you're doing, because other than that, all you're doing is just building an ad account, because that ad account can disappear in a day and you're literally left with zero equity of anything. So regardless of, I'm buying ads, I'm paying for clicks, I'm paying for traffic and eyeballs, you're still getting some brand equity out of that, because you're getting people either to your landing page or even just delivering them a good experience. That's something I wanted to talk to you a bit about, because I know from what you were doing back in, let's say, 2014 to what you're doing now is way different, and you've scaled your business up quite significantly. And I believe that's because of the system you kind of have in place right now with your team. So talk to me a little bit about how you built your team, and how they help you scale, and what you've done to delegate so you can actually get to where you want to be and not be doing everything yourself.
Yeah. So the wages are more competitive there versus India. And I feel like the quality of an employee, you get more for your money, I feel like, in the Philippines.
Okay.
That's why I chose the Philippines. But I hired one person, and then I got to the point where I needed to hire somebody else. So I said, you know what, maybe I just need to pay a little bit more, hire somebody that's very skilled to be sort of like a project manager, and then let them delegate. So let them manage a team of their own countrymen let them manage a team of people who are there. So that way I'm not trying to manage 10 people. I'm just dealing with one person, and this person is then, executing with the rest of the team. And I felt like that kind of helped, because you try to communicate with 10 different people in the Philippines. You got the language barrier. Some of them are not going to be as good at English as the others. Everybody's different. So I felt like, for me, it was better to structure it to where I have a project manager, and then our employees are reporting to him directly. They're not coming to me asking me, how do I do this? They're asking him. If he doesn't know, he'll ask me, and then he'll relay the instruction back to the team.
Oh, very cool.
So
okay.
I felt like that was the way to go. Now, that didn't happen overnight. I mean, there were times where I'm managing multiple different people in the Philippines, and I would say if you're going to hire somebody overseas, ask them to do because all of them. I mean, this isn't a knock at VAs, but they'll pretty much just tell you they can do whatever. In my experience, they'll say, "Oh yeah, I can do that. Hey, can you do hey, can you do local citations? They'll say, yeah, I can do that. Or can you write content? Oh, yeah, I can do that. And it's good to put them to a test, like pay them, obviously, for their time, but say, hey, we're going to do a paid test. I want you to go do these 3 things. I'm going to pay you for it. And then you evaluate their work. And if it's really far, and if it's really far off, if they're just missing the mark, then just tell them, hey, it's not going to work out. But if it's just a little bit less than what you expected, then you can probably say, hey, you did good, but here's a couple things I want you to do differently. And that's worked for me, doing like the paid tests with people.
Okay, that's it. Okay, cool. I've had similar experiences with VAs where it's just, they'll tell you that they can do something and come to find out they can't, or they require just a lot of hand holding, when what you're trying to do is just get this person on to take the minutia off your plate so you can scale, and really focus on the strategy of what you should be focusing on. And I actually believe that the demand for work in the VA space is only going to continue to grow, because I'm seeing countries like India become more of a tech hub, and countries like the Philippines become more of like a customer service call center, and even just digital marketing hub. And these countries they're educating their citizens more in terms of fields of study, if you want to. I guess you can use it as that, fields of study focuses of what they should be looking at, more towards not just what's traditionally out there, but what is more of like modern day education. Do I need to learn how to do certain things online that can cross borders and help people in other countries? So it's creating a really great product, if you want to look at it like that, from a VA, let's say from the Philippines, than what you would have to pay maybe quadruple for in the States. So that's that's one thing that we implement here at PALO is using like VAs to help us with the minutia and smaller tasks that we don't necessarily want to hire someone for, but we still need to push forward. And countries like the Philippines and Panama are big areas where we can find people who are very skilled. And trust me, like I've gone through 6 or 7 VAs just from them saying, oh, I can do this all day. And then when it comes around to it, it's, oh, you can't do it, unfortunately. So we've built a system where like what you said, it's pay for that that pilot, pay for that test, because when money's behind it, then they're going to be more motivated. And then you can also see if they can do what they want to do. So with with your project manager and with your team that your project manager actually is accountable for, like, do you pay them on an hourly basis? Do you pay them on the commission only? How's that work?
No, I pay them on a salary.
Oh, cool.
So everyone that works here gets a salary, and they're expected to work 8 hours a day. So the kind of the rule is, if you run out of stuff to do, go either try to learn something new or go work on something that is going to benefit the business overall.
I love that.
Yeah, because we don't want them just sitting around, since they're all getting an actual salary, and we're not paying by the hour. So yeah, we want them to stay busy, and I try to treat them like I would a U.S. employee. I try to give them that leeway, and I don't know. So I've worked with other people in the space that have had VAs, and I've seen firsthand how some people talk to their VAs. And sometimes when they're typing to their VA, they'll use all caps, or they'll talk to them. I don't want to say like, they're not like necessarily rude to them, but not in a way that you would talk to an American person. So I try to treat them, with the same respect I would treat a U.S.-based employee. Because they're all, they're just people too. They just want to prosper and work. And I feel like that kind of goes a long way with morale and getting them to be loyal to you.
Yes.
That's kind of my thought process.
Yeah, for sure. I think I think if you're going to spend time and resources and just like the effort of making someone work, you got to treat them like a team member, regardless of if you find them on Upwork or onlinejobs.ph. Put in the time and effort to make sure that there's a system for them to succeed, and then they're going to stay, like you just said, they're going to stay loyal. They may take less jobs on Upwork, and they may devote more time to what you're doing, or you may be able to get them on salary like you do and get more output, because at the end of the day, which I hope everyone listening to this understands, is from a pay-per-call perspective, your job is to ensure that phone calls are increasing, the amount of your phone calls are increasing, and what you're doing on the brand side, building your brands from what we talked about, are increasing in value. So if you can't focus on that, really at the end of the day, you're going to fail. So building that team, building it in a profitable manner, and creating a sustainable system is going to be it's going to be your in my opinion, your key to being able to scale your business, especially on the SEO side. There's so much that goes into that. I mean, shit, you could be just doing outreach all day, like outreach all day, even, no, not even that, finding the emails to outreach to all day. That can take hours upon hours. So I know that building a team is absolutely crucial, regardless of where they're from, so you can scale. But on the SEO side, you got to build that team. You got to have systems in place. So before we move on to the next topic, and I want to move on to the next topic about really what you're using your team for, but what kind of tools are you using to find, let's say, or would you recommend to find VAs or managing a VA appropriately?
So the best tool that I found for VAs, like finding the good VAs, is if you already have a VA working for you, ask them if they have any friends that need a job or that they know that will do good. That's, I think, with the exception of one right now, that's how we found everybody on the team at this time. It wasn't always like that.
Oh, wow.
I was doing online jobs. Yeah, because if I need somebody to say, hey, do you know anyone that can write articles? And then they'll all ask around, and between them, BPO, business process outsourcing, is huge in the Philippines. So like almost,
definitely.
Yeah, like everybody over there is working for an American company, it seems like. And they, like the VAs, I feel like they kind of like hang out together, like they know other VAs. So if you already have a VA working for you, ask them if they know anyone. Otherwise, onlinejobs.ph is pretty good, I think. It's pretty good. I mean, that you just have to be, do the paid test, because everyone's going to say they're the best at everything, and you'll find a lot of BS on there. There's also a bunch of fake profiles on there, and I don't know how they get past the ID score or whatever, but you'll find that if you sign up and post a job, you'll get the same email from multiple different people, and it's really just one company that's created all these profiles.
Okay.
So and then one other rule that I have is that they can't work anywhere else. So if we hire them, this is their full-time job, and I expect we'll pay them enough to where it's a living wage, to where they don't need to try to supplement or try to be a full-time employee for 3 different companies.
Gotcha.
You just can't do that, It's like not sustainable.
Totally. I never thought of it like that, where just ask another VA. Do they have do they have friends that can help them out, or just other colleagues? I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that today. I didn't even think of that. One cool thing too that I've noticed, or that I've used, and it's helped me notice, like what you just said there, where you get fake profiles and things like that, is and an old teammate had a really cool trick, and this is what he did. If he posted a job, he'd hide a sentence in the middle of the job that would say, "Start your proposal with the name of the CEO of Amazon." And so it would give me the ability to scan through proposals quickly, because I know at the top, if they actually read the description and just blanket it with the proposal, then that will be there at the top. And it gives me a really quick and efficient way of, first, do they even follow directions, and are they thorough? Because if they can't even follow that one direction, then how are they going to help me scale this like intricate SEO business that I'm trying to grow here. And like that
Yeah.
little trick right there saved me so much time in terms of finding the right candidates, because you put that into action, you'll see that maybe 7 out of 10 proposals will not include just what you're asking them to include. And you'll see who are just trying to do the spray and pray method of like, oh, can I get a job? Because I really wrote down that I can do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so Online Jobs PH, it sounds like a really good resource. I mean, I'd also recommend anyone listening or watching to look at Upwork even too. Upwork's just,
Oh yeah.
yeah, the biggest and then the easiest and the quickest way to get started. It's I mean, it's definitely a bit more expensive than just using the smaller sites like a Freelancer or even an onlinejobs.ph. But I think those are some good resources for finding some good peeps. So talking
Yeah.
about the team and what you did to build the team. Well, now that you got your team in place, and really with anyone, now that you have your team in place, what the fuck is your team going to do? Like, what are you going to have them do to start kicking some ass in growing these sites? So one thing that I wanted to talk about was something I know very well that you've done, and hopefully you can share some insight here, and maybe this can be very tangible for the audience. But can you share some tips or some tricks or some ninja hacks on like what you're doing now to not only find ways to grow the site, but how do you even get started, whether it be with domains or anything like that?
Yeah. Yeah. So personally, I like to start out with the auction domain. And if you want to kind of skimp, you could probably just go get an expired domain. But I like auction domains because they're fresh. If you're willing to pay the money, you can get one with a lot of juice behind it, a lot of backlinks already.
Yep.
You can get a domain that's already in your niche. And what I found just lately is that the domain dictates the niche. So it's not necessarily like, hey, I'm going to build a site in the insurance niche. It's like, what domains are available and can I monetize this niche?
Okay.
Or, you know what I mean? Yeah, because with expired domains, and if you spend like $500-600 on a domain, you can get something decent. You can go and look in Ahrefs, or you can go look at SEMrush for the historic, number of keywords it was indexed for. Or certainly you want to look at the links, like what links does it have pointing to it? Does it have links from like Wikipedia or Forbes or New York Times, like good editorial links? And then I always look at archive.org. So I always find the domain, look at archive, see what the site looked like in the past. And if it's a good site, you can actually just grab the content from there. So just have your VA set it up on WordPress, grab the content from archive.org, basically rebuild the site. And then sometimes you can absorb the brand, sometimes you can't. Sometimes you got to change the name of the brand. You can't just call it like whatever it was before, because there can be issues there. But the domain is that's probably been like the number one tip, or the number one best thing for me, is finding auction domains.
Okay.
Using that as a starting point.
So
yeah.
before we keep moving on that, by the way, that's awesome. I've talked to you a shit ton, and we actually never talked about it in that way. So that's such a cool way to that you position it. So you're saying, well, before I even dive into that archive.org step, are you saying that auction sites are more valuable than expired domain type sites, or are they the same thing?
So you can go to expireddomains.net. It's free. You can search different marketplaces. You can search GoDaddy auctions. You can search like all the GoDaddy expired domains they're not auction domains. They're just expired domains.
Okay.
Yeah, they have you can look at Cedo. What are some of the others? Name Silo.
Yeah.
Like all those marketplaces are aggregated. Yeah, Domcop. Yeah, they're aggregated into expireddomains.net. And I think that there's, like you said, like Domcop is its own tool as well. Like it can find expired domains. I just happen to do it manually.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me. I know there's tools out there, but I just do it manually. Because I could kind of find what I want. Like I could look for high value keywords. Like I could put in the keyword insurance into expired domains, sort it by the age of the domain, and look at when it was last registered. So what you don't want is a domain that's been bought, sold 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
Or that, or that was a site, then it became some Chinese site, and then it became something else. What you're looking for is a site that's been the same site for however long it's been alive, that has a track record of being a certain type of website, that has good links, and maybe somebody forgot to renew it, or maybe the company went out of business and they just didn't do anything with the domain.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of like my little strategy.
That's cool. That's really cool. So, what's the potential for me to be able to monetize this? So I'm not necessarily looking for something specific, let's say insurance. It's just what's available and how can I monetize this? Is that how you look at it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Like the domain tends to dictate the niche versus me saying, hey, I want to be in the insurance niche. I'm going to say, what types of domains are available, and are any of those niches available to be monetized? Like, can I monetize them easily?
Yeah. Okay. So, gotcha. And so you would okay, cool. So I'm putting it together in terms of like how someone building a brand could use it. But like that alone right there sounds like a really great way that even just an affiliate can start by saying, if I want to just begin to make income, and let's say buy a site around plumbers or locksmith or bail bondsmen, then those are very local driven or just call driven services. That's going to help me just generate income. And also, like we talked about earlier, deliver value to a user because you're connecting them with the right type of individual on the other end. And now, one thing that I've learned from knowing just that space, and I actually learned a lot from you too, is that using expired domains is a great tool, but you're never going to, expireddomains.net is a great tool, but you're never going to really understand kind of what that site offers based upon looking at the domain, because it could have a brand name on it. Let's say it's like junglexyz.com. Well, junglexyz.com could have marketed themselves as an insurance site, but you can't tell that based upon just the surface by looking at the domain. So with archive.org or even Wayback Machine, that's what it's called, right? Wayback Machine?
Yeah.
Yeah, I keep wanting to say Wayback When Machine. Wayback Machine. One thing that I've been thinking about for helping grow the brands that we're trying to grow here at PALO is take a system with, let's say, your VA and look at the domains that are available for purchase and use your VA to go and investigate what type of content was on that page prior and build up really a brief on this was an insurance site. This was a site on how to eat organically or something like that. And it gives you a better ability to understand that's something that can help me grow my insurance product brand or something along those lines. So in combination with all these tools, kind of like what I'm getting at, you can really find yourself in a really good position to not only find a site that can deliver income just by monetizing what's going in there, but you can also build brand equity because you can understand what these people are going at. And I had actually never thought about archive.org. That's really cool.
Yeah. So I was also going to add too, let's say you've already launched a site like insurancemonkey.com or whatever, and that's your brand, you created it, you can still leverage this process, because really what you could do is just go to archive or go to expireddomains.net, put in some criteria like the domain must have a link, at least one link from Wikipedia, or must have a trust flow of whatever. I mean, I tend to not focus too hard on metrics like trust flow or domain authority, but put in some search criteria, find it, then you can actually find a decent domain, then redirect it to your brand and kind of take advantage of it that way.
Totally.
So just another
I love
thing.
that. Yeah, I mean, I think the hardest part, in my opinion, is just getting visitors to the site. If you can get visitors to the site,
Yeah.
all that matters next is how you apply whatever you're going to do on that site to deliver value. And like you said, it can just redirect, or maybe it's a blog, and within the blog you're establishing that the content always speaks highly about Insurance Monkey as the authority in auto insurance, life insurance, home insurance, things like that, and link out to it, making sure your anchor text has the correct info. But like all of that, I love that. I love that process. So um, when you find that domain, I know one tool that you like to use is mass page building. And before, I want to preface this with, anyone who hears this is probably going to say, whoa, that's black hat. You're doing things totally the wrong way. You're speaking out two sides of your mouth. But first, hear this gentleman out. And second, there's definitely the right way to do this and the wrong way to do this. So tell me a little bit about what you're doing on the mass page side.
Yeah. So basically, what we don't want to do, and there's a bunch of mass page building softwares out there. A lot of them are kind of, I don't want to say they're not garbage. They do the job correctly, but they integrate with like Spin Rewriter, which is fine. Like that's a good integration to have, but like you're not going to rank with a bunch of garbage spun content. If you're just scraping up content, spinning it, publishing it on a web page, I mean, you might be able to generate some calls from that, but it's not going to have any longevity. It's not going to give any value to the user. It's just pointless to even do that. It's just a waste of time, in my opinion. But what you can do, if you're going to, a good way to get a lot of traffic quickly is to build out mass pages, because you can do it quickly and you can do it in a way that's not spammy. First of all, by definition, I mean, spam doesn't give any value to the user. If you develop a page, say you want to rank your page for plumber, Jacksonville, Florida. If on that page is located a phone number where somebody can access a plumber, all the other content that's there reads half decent. It's about plumbing. You're answering that user search query, because that user search plumber, Jacksonville, Florida. You're giving a solution to the user's query. So, I mean, everybody defines spam differently. In my opinion, spam just has zero value. So a good example of spam would be you develop a website, a mass page site that is targeting the keyword plumber plus city, but then once a user clicks that, they're being redirected into like a sweepstakes or like a survey thing. That in my opinion, that's totally spam, holds no value. It's garbage. But if the user clicks on your link on the search listing and the page pops up and it's about plumbing in Jacksonville and there's a number they can call to get a plumber, I mean, that's valuable to that user, right? Because it answers their query. They're getting a plumber. So anyway, I guess that was the preface to what we're going to talk about as far as mass page building. There's a right way to do it, and then you could just spam the world, but if you do it right, your sites will have longevity. I mean, they won't go away. They'll hold up because they're answering the query of the user. And I think that's the main thing to remember.
Okay.
So
awesome. So with mass page, like, are there any tools you use to build these out, or is it something you built custom?
Yeah. So I personally use a tool called Mass Page Creator. It's a pretty powerful tool. There's a lot of WordPress-based mass page builders. This one is not WordPress-based. So you do need to know a little bit about HTML because you're going to need to. You should know that anyway, but you're gonna need to edit some HTML, because what it does is you can upload your own template, like an HTML site template, or you can grab a page from a WordPress site, convert it to HTML, and then use that. I tend to use a WordPress front end with subfolders that hold the mass pages.
Okay.
So yeah, build a site out on WordPress, create a template page, grab it with Mass Page Creator, and then edit the page to represent whatever local city we're trying to target. And then Mass Page Creator will then replicate that page out. But also you can do something called dynamic includes, where you can have a database of different content. So let's say you've gone out and you've scraped. This is getting pretty deep, but say you
go deep, bro.
All right. So say you've scraped a bunch of blurbs about all the cities in the country. So you've got from A to Z, you've got a little blurb about every city in the USA. You can use Mass Page Creator to grab from that database and insert that little blurb about the city on the page representing that city. So that's a kind of a high level overview, but you can create these sites in such a way that are not spammy, that do provide value, and that rank high and generate a lot of calls.
Okay.
So
excellent. Okay, very cool. So with with that, going back to what you said in the beginning is, and definitely some people are still going to hear this and be like, nope, sorry, that's black hat. It's really, in my opinion, not. It can be if one day Google says, hey, this isn't how you should be doing things. Okay, well, now something that was traditionally white hat and looked highly upon can now be in a gray area. But at the end of the day, like you just said, as long as you're delivering value to the user and you're always trying to deliver value to the user, and that's part of your process, then you're never going to have an issue, because the signals that Google is receiving back is that they went to the site, they stayed on the site, maybe they moved around the site and digested some content. You can use things like Hotjar to see if they actually were interested in an area. And then another signal that they see is, did they interact with the site? And using things like Google Tag Manager and Google Analytics, you can tell Google that they did interact with the site because they clicked this phone number and they stayed on the phone and they got the service that they wanted, which then is just another signal. And on top of that, I think if you're going to build a brand, this is just one tool in the tool belt that you need to have to continue to grow what you're doing, because it's like having a well-balanced meal. You need to have the steak, which is the brand and the value you're giving, but that doesn't mean you're not going to have sides with that. And that's what I think mass pages are. Maybe the mass pages are a baked potato, and guest blogging and other sites is the asparagus. I'm getting hungry right now, as you can tell. And there's different things to add on top of that, which makes it a full dish that now your patron is going to consume and see value because it fulfilled them. So that's a good analogy. So so I love that. I love that method. I mean, I love taking it too from, you find this domain that's expired, and using that as your catalyst. By the way, anything that we've mentioned on the show today, whether it be just the site or just the tool, we're going to include in the show notes or wherever you're listening to this on how to find it, with some links, things like that. Yeah. So we're coming up on some good time here, brother. So I'd love to really take us out with some things around what you're using at your business and just you as the person, which I love. This is my favorite part. So diving into some of the things you recommend. Let's start out with your top 3 favorite marketing tools that you use to grow your business.
Oh my goodness. There's so many tools. I mean, so obviously Ahrefs is a great tool. Yep. I love to use Ahrefs. SEMrush, I use that daily. There's a tool called Mass Page Creator, which I've mentioned. I use that often. A Scrapebox is one. I haven't used it so much lately. I don't think I've used Scrapebox in a few months because I haven't really had the need to. But if you're in internet marketing and you need to gather data, Scrapebox is a pretty good tool. That's pretty much. I use Hotjar. You mentioned that pretty much on every site. And I use PhoneWagon to track calls. So,
okay, cool. All right, cool. I know Ryan over at Phone Wagon. He's
Yeah.
he's a good dude. And actually, sometimes I think, wait, is it Phone Wagon? Every tracker now has similar names: Call Wagon, Phone Wagon, Call Ring, all of them. But Phone Wagon's a great tool. So, and actually, before I move on to the next topic, we talked about expired domains.net. But have you? One thing that I've been looking at quite a bit is Flippa. Have you ever used Flippa before to purchase some
Yeah.
sites? Okay.
Well, I've never purchased. I've sold a site on Flippa, but I've never purchased anything. But I tell you what, if you're trying to get ideas for stuff, Flippa can be a good source of ideas because you can see what's there and kind of like what people are doing and monetizing. They do have some good deals on domains too. Some of it's overpriced, but yeah, Flippa's a good resource.
Totally. Yeah. I think anytime you're looking for, let's say, an expired domain or even like an asset online, if you can see the analytics and what's driving it and look at all of the indicators, that's going to be huge in terms of seeing what's out there, seeing what's working. And then as well, if you start to see like a shit ton of sites pop up for a certain category, look into it, because that may be a good or a bad thing. Maybe, let's say, for example, Google all of a sudden bans a certain category. Like recently, starting November 1st, you can't advertise on Google Ads for anything debt related or credit repair related. So one thing that I used to see is on Flippa was when they would, let's say, ban a certain type of industry or something along those lines, or it was just increasingly more difficult to rank in, I would see those sites pop up for sale. So I would see it on Flippa, I'd see it on an auction site, because they realize I'm not going to be able to make this work anymore. I need to get rid of this site. Let's try to make some money. And I would use that as an indicator. Not that looks like it's booming, but also this looks like it's maybe something I shouldn't get into if there's a surplus. So I like how you said that. You use it as information, because it can be either a good thing of what's trending out there, or even like something that's like a red flag of, oh shit, there's a fire sale for every single credit repair website out there. This may have been just a handful of marketers who can't advertise on Google anymore. So yeah. Okay, cool. So
Good point.
What's your favorite podcast?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. Honestly, I don't really listen to that. I mean, I listen to Joe Rogan sometimes, if that tells you anything.
Okay. All right.
It's not internet marketing related.
Sure.
Yeah, there's a couple blogs though, I think, out there that, like, a while back I used to like the Lion Zeal blog. So if you're trying to get started in SEO, Lion Zeal is a pretty good resource. There's another YouTube channel called Marketing Cheat Guides. That's a pretty good one. Anthony, do you feel like your audience is a lot of people like starting out, or more or less people who are established or is it just a mix of everybody?
I would say, so if we're going to focus in on pay-per-call, it's a big mix. It's very, very experienced pay-per-call marketers. And you know what? I'm going to take a step back. on this. I'm going to remove pay-per-call from the scenario here. I would say that our audience is very much skilled digital marketers, and they're looking to break into different areas of marketing, and pay-per-call being one of those areas. So I often talk to affiliates who do multiple six figures on, let's say, just traditional lead gen, or even just some not shady verticals, but verticals that are difficult to work in, let's say like Nutra or different supplements. And they say, I need to get into something more evergreen, or something I can really just build more of my skill set. So they look at pay-per-call as an option there, because I think it is a viable option for where I see lead gen going. So to answer your question, it's definitely skilled marketers, but either fresh in pay-per-call or looking to amplify their business in pay-per-call, but it's spread out big time.
I see. Okay. Yeah, one thing I'll add too that I've heard you actually say before that really is important is, whatever your traffic source is, whatever your main source of traffic is to your site, there are always other channels for traffic. So take advantage of the tools that are out there. Like, for example, make sure you've got the Facebook pixel on your site. Make sure you got it. You know, if you want to use AdRoll, which is a pretty easy platform to use, put the AdRoll pixel on your site. Just make sure you're using your data to just have more than Google Analytics on there, because some of these platforms, like one that I was experimenting with recently was called Choozle, which I'm not like a big display buyer. I don't do a lot of display advertising just generally, but Choozle was really cool because they had a lot of audiences that were available. So if you're sort of like a media buyer type guy, you've got that. You know, whatever your traffic source is, you use other tools out there to leverage the data that is provided by that traffic. So, you know, if you install a Facebook pixel on your site, you might be able to go back to Facebook, build a lookalike audience off the people that came to your site already through organic search or through whatever other channel, and target more of those people depending on what niche you're in. So I would add that too. Just make sure. I think the tip would be, you know, leverage everything you can to get the most value out of the people that are coming to your website.
I love that. I love that. I mean, so many times that I've talked to some of our affiliates and they're getting a lot of traffic to their site, even if it's just paid search, they're driving users to a landing page and they're getting the call right there, and that's it. They only have Google Analytics set up. And it's just such a wasted opportunity, because like you just said, you can build a phenomenal lookalike audience, even if you're not going to market them in the next 3 months, a month, maybe even 6 months. There's an opportunity there for you to just get that data in and use it to your advantage, and then maybe get into a whole new vertical or a whole new media channel, because I don't know, one day there might be a change in Google. You can't market there anymore, but luckily you've built up this audience to really help you pivot. And then on top of that, just learning about the audience is always going to be helpful. I just forgot what question we were on. Oh, podcast. Okay. So one thing I'd recommend that you listen to, and our users to listen to, is definitely check out Marketing School by Neil Patel and Eric Sue. It's a super, super simple and actionable podcast on digital marketing in general, and 7 minutes. Usually it's no longer than 7 minutes. I listen to it on my way to the gym, and I shouldn't, because by the time I get to the gym, I want to stop and use the things they recommend, and it's just very actionable. And I love it. So it sounds like that you answered about the blog, the blogs you listen to. Now I'm going to ask about you, the gentleman. What's the first hour of your day look like?
Oh man, just the first hour of like my work day is just getting caught up, just looking at the emails, seeing what's popping, what I need to deal with. If there's any fires. I do a lot of client and white label work.
Okay.
So my company does a lot of big part of what we do is white label SEO. But anyway, there's always something. It seems like when I get to work in the morning.
Okay, gotcha.
Something popping off. So yeah, just really answering emails and stuff.
What about the first hour of your day physically?
So I get up, I meditate for about 15 minutes. I drink a cup of lean to get, you know what lean is? Oh, I'm just kidding. I don't meditate. I don't drink.
That was phenomenal. All right, cool. You had me right there, bro.
Yeah. No, I just get up and drink some coffee and just hang out with my wife and son, and just for a little bit, and then get going.
Okay. All right. I thought we were going to get on to a new little hack. All right. Okay. All right. So if you want to be good at SEO, everyone listening, you need to sip on some of that lean. Make sure you have the white styrofoam cup too. That's perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. What's your favorite book?
Oh man, I don't even know how to read. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, I haven't read any of the big marketing books that people, I got the PDF version of the Russell Brunson book, the funnel, the one you get if you sign up for ClickFunnels. I didn't really, it was kind of interesting. I didn't really read it in depth. I've read a lot of I've read a lot of books in my life, just general books, like fiction, novels and stuff. But as far as like the usual books, like what's the one, the 4-Hour Work Week?
Yeah.
I haven't read that. So yeah, I haven't really read any relevant marketing books.
Okay. I mean,
I probably should though, but.
Well, I mean, I don't like reading necessarily. I like listening to books on audio, and it's like just like kind of like how podcasts have really expanded. It's just I like to listen to it, but the only downside is if they have a shitty voice, it's like, oh God, no. I mean, I can't even stand my own voice. I can't listen to this voice. So I would say, I mean, the 4-Hour Work Week alone is such a good and useful book for someone someone like yourself who's trying to get started in something and scale and build a team and delegate where they need to, so you can get some of that time back, or just get some of that time back to use on more important areas. That book was great. And then on top of that, with Tim Ferriss, it's Tools of Titans. It's a really good book. I had to listen to it on audio because the book is like a phone book in terms of thickness. It is crazy actionable in terms of the content in there. So I'd check out that book. It's definitely a big one. So watch out when you guys see it in a bookstore that you can only fit like 2 on a shelf. So what do you do in your free time when you're not working? Or what do you actually, let me rephrase that question because our last guest answered it differently. What do you like to do with your time?
Yeah, I like to kind of, hang out. We just had a baby, so we got a 7-month-old kid. You saw him earlier. But yeah, he just kind of hang out with my wife and my son, and that's still new. So we're still kind of getting used to the whole parent thing.
Okay.
Like, getting used to the responsibilities and kind of sharing the workload a little bit. But what do I like to do? Man, I like to ride dirt bikes. I have a dirt bike. I have a KTM in the garage that I like. I haven't ridden it in a while because it's been so busy. I like to shoot guns from time to time. But yeah, no, I like to do work around the house. If something's broken, I like to at least try to fix it myself.
Okay. All right. Cool.
I don't always
succeed,
but
all right. Yeah. Cool. Nice. All right. I do a lot of mountain biking. I like to downhill mountain bike. So there's some mountains around me, and when I get up there, I like to get up there in the summer and just hit them trails up. I can't ski for shit. I pizza the whole way down on those green trails, but if it's the summer, I can get on that same trail and rip down on a mountain bike. But I've never dirt biked.
Wow.
So whenever I'm out there sometime, let's in Denver, let's ride some bikes and shoot some guns.
Oh, yeah, man. That'd be awesome.
I'll bring the lean.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Nice. So the last question I have for you, my friend, before we head out, what is the single best piece of advice that you've been given?
For me, the best piece of advice that I've been given in my life has been to slow down. So don't try to rush. Don't try to rush things. Just, you don't want to go too slow, right? You want to take action, but don't just take a moment to breathe and think about what you're about to do. And that can apply to marketing or just anything, it's like, could be anything, just take a moment, think about what you're doing. And just, it's better to slow down a little bit. But I tend to make fast decisions, kind of shoot from the hip a little bit. And that's not always good. And sometimes it's good, but just slow down and think about what you're about to do, and think about the decisions that you're about to make, whether it's, do I need to buy these links, or, should I marry this person, or whatever,
Okay.
That's been the best advice anyone's ever given me. It's just,
those are very closely related. Good links and marriage.
Yeah.
So, I would agree with that, dude. It's especially like when you're trying to get a break, if you want to call it a break, but people transitioning from work mode to just personal mode. It's like, personally with me, it's when I'm here and I'm focused at PALO, it's certain things need to get done. they need to get done in a timely fashion, and let's go and let's get aggressive and let's get the win. And so when I tune out, which is not very often, it's take it slow. Just enjoy the time you have to let your brain decompress and just enjoy the moment. And you can do that in work too, because if you're building a team and you're always go, 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 you may not be able to enjoy the actions that are happening around you. And I see that when we go to conferences too, because my team is remote. And so, 90% of my team is remote. So when we do see each other, we slow down and we enjoy ourselves, because we have a phenomenal culture. But when we're in person, that culture is just amplified by 100x. So I love that piece of advice. Take it slow, don't rush it, think it through, and then everything you execute on should be that much more successful. So, dude, this has been awesome. One thing that I really hope everyone got from this is SEO is an ever-changing game. You need to be able to do things the right way, and you need to be able to see what's around the corner with SEO and make sure you position yourself for that, or pivot when you need to pivot. And then on top of that, certain things that some people may look down upon as gray hat or even black hat, don't stray away from those. Just learn how those things work and learn how those things operate, and use them in a way for good. Use them in a way that's where your intention is to deliver value, and you're going to see success there. And then as well, talk with more people. I wouldn't have met Adam unless I just saw what he was doing out there on Facebook and just started a conversation. And I learned so much from this guy. And so as we take everyone out, Adam, tell everyone how they can reach you.
Yeah, so my email is adam@rocket31.com. You can hit me up on Facebook if you want. I'm in the Caller Meetup group. So, yeah, email, Facebook, all good, however you want. Send smoke signals.
All right, man. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, cool, brother. Well, dude, I really appreciate you taking the time. I'm looking forward to seeing what value everyone gets out of this. And I will be talking to you soon, sir. Thanks again.
All right. Thanks, bro. Take care.
Later.